Hi, I'm Dr. John, and if you have a dog at home, this is one video you cannot afford to skip. Your dog cannot speak. They cannot tell you when something hurts, where it hurts, or how badly it hurts. And here's the part that surprises most owners. Dogs are actually wired to hide pain. It goes back thousands of years to their wild ancestry, where any animal that showed weakness became an easy target for predators. That instinct never left them, which means your dog could be suffering right now, and showing almost no obvious signs of it. Today, I'm walking you through 15 signs that your dog may be in pain. Some of these are well known. Others are so subtle that even experienced pet owners miss them for months. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for, and just as importantly, when a sign means you should simply keep an eye on things versus when it means you need to call your vet immediately. Let's get into it. The first sign is a change in appetite. This is usually one of the earliest indicators that something is wrong. If your dog suddenly starts eating less, hesitating at the food bowl, or walking away from meals they normally love, pain is one of the top possible reasons. Physical discomfort changes how the body processes hunger. If your dog's mouth hurts, their stomach hurts. If their body simply feels too uncomfortable to move toward the bowl, they may skip meals entirely. On the other hand, some dogs actually eat more when they're anxious, or in low-level discomfort, using food as a coping mechanism. Either direction, a noticeable and sustained change in eating habits, lasting more than a day, is worth paying close attention to. The second sign is excessive licking or chewing at one specific area of the body. Dogs use licking as a way to self-soothe, and when that licking becomes obsessive and focused on one particular spot, whether it's a paw, a joint, or a patch of skin, it's often because that exact area is bothering them. Over time, this behavior can actually make things worse. Constant licking can cause hair loss, skin irritation, and even secondary infections in the area, creating a second problem layered on top of the original one. If you notice your dog returning to the same spot day after day, that is your dog quite literally pointing you toward the source of their discomfort. The third sign is a noticeable drop in interest for play or walks. This is one of the most commonly dismissed signs because owners often assume their dog is simply getting older or going through a lazy phase. But there's an important distinction here. Aging typically brings a gradual decline in energy over months or years. Pain brings a sudden shift, often within days. If a dog that used to race to the door at the sound of a leash suddenly shows no interest, or seems reluctant to jump, run, or climb stairs, that abrupt change deserves attention. Joint pain, muscle strain, and internal discomfort all make movement harder, and dogs will naturally avoid activities that increase that discomfort. The fourth sign is panting when there's no clear reason for it. Most people associate panting purely with heat or exercise, but panting is also a physical response to pain and stress, very similar to how a person might start breathing faster when they're hurting or anxious. If your dog is panting heavily while resting indoors in a cool room, and they haven't just been active, it's worth considering what else might be going on. This sign is easy to overlook because panting feels so normal for dogs in general, but context matters. Panting without heat, exercise, or excitement as an explanation is a signal, not a coincidence. The fifth sign is a change in posture. Dogs in pain often carry themselves differently, even if the difference seems small at first. You might notice a hunched back, a lowered head, or a dog that no longer stretches out fully when lying down the way they used to. Some dogs will shift their weight away from a particular leg while standing, subtly favoring one side without an obvious limp. This sign requires knowing your dog's normal posture well, which is exactly why paying attention to their everyday behavior matters so much. Small postural shifts are often the first physical clue before anything more obvious develops. The sixth sign is aggression or irritability that feels out of character. A dog that is normally calm, friendly, and easygoing, suddenly growling, snapping, or pulling away when touched is almost never a behavioral issue out of nowhere. In the vast majority of cases, this reaction is tied to physical pain. If your dog reacts negatively, specifically when you touch a certain area, like their belly, their back, a leg, or their ears, that reaction is giving you direct information about where the discomfort is coming from. It's important not to punish this kind of behavior because the dog isn't acting out for no reason. They're communicating the only way they know how. The seventh sign is excessive sleeping, or a tendency to hide in unusual places. Dogs do sleep a significant portion of the day naturally, so this one can be tricky to notice. But a real increase in sleep, especially combined with seeking out hiding spots like under furniture, behind couches, or in closets, often signals that your dog doesn't feel well. This behavior connects back to the same wild instinct we talked about earlier. In nature, an injured or sick animal hides to stay safe from predators while it's vulnerable. Domestic dogs still carry that instinct, even though they haven't needed it for generations. The eighth sign is one that almost no owner thinks to check, and it's one of the most reliable indicators once you know about it. It's dilated pupils combined with a distant, glazed stare. Most people watch their dog's overall behavior and energy level, but very few actually look closely at their dog's eyes. When a dog is experiencing significant pain, their pupils often remain dilated, even in normal lighting conditions. And their expression can take on a distant, almost checked-out quality. It's subtle, and it's easy to miss if you're not specifically looking for it. But once you start paying attention to your dog's eyes as part of your regular check-ins, this becomes one of the clearest signals available. The ninth sign is limping or favoring a leg, even if it only happens occasionally. Some dogs only limp after resting for a while, or only after a long walk, which leads owners to assume it isn't serious. But inconsistent limping still represents your dog's body compensating for pain somewhere in that leg. It doesn't need to happen every single time your dog walks in order to be real and worth investigating. In fact, intermittent limping can sometimes indicate an issue that's still developing, which makes early attention even more valuable. The 10th sign is vocalization, meaning whimpering, whining, or yelping. Particularly when your dog is moving, being picked up, or getting up after lying down for a while. This sign tends to be more obvious than the others on this list, but it's still frequently misread. Owners sometimes interpret this vocal behavior as attention-seeking or dramatic, rather than recognizing it as a direct response to physical discomfort. If the sounds consistently happen around specific movements, that pattern is meaningful information, not random noise. The 11th sign is bad breath, paired with pawing at the face or mouth. This combination very often points toward dental pain, and dental disease happens to be one of the most common health issues in dogs. It's also one of the most frequently ignored. Research shows the majority of dogs develop some form of dental disease by adulthood, yet most owners never even think to check their dog's mouth regularly. If you notice a sudden change in breath odor along with your dog rubbing or pawing at their face, dental discomfort should be high on your list of possibilities. The 12th sign is restlessness, or an ongoing difficulty getting comfortable. A dog that lies down, gets back up, circles, lies down again, and repeats this cycle multiple times without settling is often experiencing discomfort. This is different from normal nesting behavior before sleep. The key indicator here is repetition and an inability to stay still, which suggests the dog is physically searching for relief rather than simply getting cozy. The 13th sign is shaking or trembling without an obvious trigger like cold weather or fear. If your dog is trembling in a warm room with no thunderstorm, no fireworks, and nothing frightening happening around them, pain is one of the leading possible explanations. Trembling takes real energy, and dogs don't do it without a reason, even if that reason isn't immediately visible to us. The 14th sign is excessive drooling outside of the situations where it would normally happen. Certain breeds naturally drool more than others, so context matters here. But a sudden and noticeable increase in drooling, especially when it's paired with pawing at the mouth or reluctance to eat, often points back to oral or dental pain. This connects closely to the 11th sign, and together they form a strong pattern worth acting on. And the 15th and final sign is a hunched or a tucked abdomen. If your dog's belly appears pulled in, tense, or unusually firm, and they seem uncomfortable or pull away when you gently touch that area, this can indicate internal pain. This particular sign should never be dismissed or waited out because it can point to issues that need prompt veterinary attention. So let's bring this all together. The 15 signs we covered are changes in appetite, obsessive licking at one area, reduced interest in play or walks, unexplained panting, changes in posture, out-of-character aggression, excessive sleeping or hiding, dilated pupils with a distant stare, intermittent limping, unusual vocalization, bad breath with pawing at the mouth, restlessness, trembling without a clear trigger, excessive drooling, and a hunched or tense abdomen. Here's the most important thing to understand. Any single one of these signs on its own might mean very little. Dogs have off days just like we do. But when you start noticing 2 or more of these signs appearing together or persisting for more than a day or 2, that's no longer a coincidence. That's your dog telling you, in the only language they have, that something is wrong, and it's time to have them checked by a veterinarian. Knowing your dog's normal behavior, day to day, is the single best tool you have. The better you know what's normal, the faster you'll notice what isn't. I'm Dr. John, and if this video helped you understand your dog a little better, make sure you're subscribed, because every week I break down exactly what your pet's behavior is really telling you. See you in the next one.